You were the one mistake this family didn't manage to erase, Brooke. We kept you around for appearances, not out of love. Don't kid yourself. You were never wanted, only tolerated. These were the words my own mother said. No anger, no hesitation, just the cold certainty of someone who had erased me long before I realized I was gone. If you've ever stood in the middle of a family gathering and felt like a stranger, if you've been cut from the photos, the memories, the acknowledgments, then stay. Because this story isn't just about being cast aside. It's about rising and reclaiming the place you never should have had to fight for. The valet smiled as he handed me the stub, his eyes sweeping over the sedan I'd scrubbed for an hour that morning. It gleamed under the soft twilight, but no amount of polish could disguise its modesty next to the forest of luxury vehicles parked neatly up and down the manicured cul-de-sac. I took the stub with a soft thank you, already feeling the corners of myself beginning to fold inward. The Sullivan estate loomed ahead like a polished memory I hadn't been invited to. White lights wrapped around tall oaks, a jazz trio hummed on the patio, and the air smelled like cedar plank salmon and lemon oil, carefully curated warmth. I adjusted the navy dress I'd worn to 2 interviews and 1 funeral, ran a hand over my purse to smooth the nerves. At the entrance, a young man in a tailored vest manned a sleek check-in podium. His tablet glowed. Name? He asked, cheerful and neutral. Brooke Sullivan, I said. He paused, brows knitting. His finger scrolled. You're listed under guest of Reynolds family. My smile stayed even as something behind my ribs tipped slightly out of place. That's my family, I said. He turned the screen toward me. The list was meticulous. Derek Sullivan, Margot Sullivan, Greg Sullivan, Alyssa Sullivan, and below that, in smaller font, guest of family, no name. I'm the sister, I said, quieter now. He blinked. Would you like me to write your name on a tag? No need. I took the generic guest badge and pinned it just above my heart. The house opened like a glossy magazine spread. Candles floated in glass bowls. Servers in black carried trays of fig crostini. I walked through, nodding at people who didn't remember me, my heels catching faintly on the marble floor. Table 18, near the kitchen, half obscured by a support column and dangerously close to the swinging door where the waitstaff bustled. I sat down, taking in the setting. The silverware was off-center. The napkin was folded into a swan, but its neck had given up halfway. I reached for it, gently adjusted the beak, then let my fingers rest there. Across the room, Margot beamed as she guided a group of donors through the story of Derek's career. Greg stood behind her, nodding like he'd rehearsed it. Derek, polished and glowing, laughed with a hand on someone's back, effortlessly the son of the room. Alyssa stood near him, poised and porcelain, offering soft smiles that didn't reach her eyes. No one looked my way. The seat beside me remained empty. A server leaned down. Is this taken? No, I said, voice level. It's all yours. There was applause. Lights dimmed slightly as a microphone hissed and settled. A man's voice, too smooth, introduced the highlight of the evening. A video tribute to Derek Sullivan. I didn't breathe. The screen bloomed to life. Derek in Little League. Derek in a science fair. Derek in cap and gown at his firm's ribbon cutting, shaking the mayor's hand. Voiceovers. Margot declaring him our pride. Greg calling him born to lead. They said we, but they never said Brooke. There was no mention of the weekend I slept on Derek's showroom floor so the carpet team wouldn't bail. No word about the $10,000 I wired him during the firm's first cash flow crisis. No trace of me. When the video ended, a toast followed. More applause. Then Margot stood and moved to the microphone. And now, she said with a voice soaked in delight, a few words from someone very special to us, Derek's ever-thoughtful little sister. My pulse turned into something solid. I stood slowly, legs deciding before I did. The crowd turned. I passed table after table, each face swiveling to take me in. Some polite, some confused. At the riser, Margot handed me the mic with a smile that said everything was going according to plan. There was no card, no cue. I cleared my throat. "It's a beautiful night," I said. "And Derek, you've always had a gift for making the room light up around you." The words tasted thin, but I kept my voice steady. Then Margot laughed. It was light, lilting. She turned to the crowd. "Oh, tell them, sweetheart. Wouldn't it be the perfect gift if you gave them the condo keys tonight?" The silence hit like a pane of glass. A guest coughed. One woman sipped her wine with too much focus. Someone near the back murmured, "What did she say?" I blinked. My brain scrambled to match what I'd just heard with reality. "What?" I asked, not into the mic, just to her. Margot's smile never wavered. "The place in Austin, that gorgeous two-bedroom you're hardly ever in. Derek and Alyssa are newlyweds. It just makes sense." Greg chimed in from his seat, his voice too loud. "Come on, Brooke. It's not like you're using the guest room." My mouth went dry. I stared at them. At the room. At Derek, who looked down at his plate. Alyssa's lips tightened, but she didn't speak. This wasn't agreed on. He didn't argue. He didn't shout. He just swung the champagne bottle. The world fractured in a sound like glass hitting bone. Sharp. Fast. Impossible. The base of the bottle struck just above my temple. I didn't fall. Not at first. My knees wavered, and then I was sideways. Everything blurred. Not blackness. Not white. Just the pulsing ache of something irreversible. The room gasped. Not in horror, more like inconvenience. A woman near the dessert table stifled a shriek. A phone camera clicked. I felt something wet trace my cheekbone, then drip from my jaw onto the gleaming white marble. Nobody moved. Greg stood there, arms slack at his side, the bottle still in hand. His jaw clenched like he'd expected applause. Margot was beside him, lips drawn tight, not in concern, but in contempt. "You ungrateful brat," she hissed. The words weren't whispered. They weren't accidental. They were deliberate, public, and permanent. "We brought you into this world, gave you everything, and this is how you repay us?" Derek didn't say a word. He didn't even look at me. Alyssa's hand was on his sleeve, frozen. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. No one crossed the room. No one handed me a napkin. Not even the staff. I lifted my hand to my face. The blood was warm, sticky between my fingers. My other hand went to the edge of a serving table to steady myself. "She's being dramatic, right?" Someone whispered. "No," came a voice farther back. "That man hit her. I got it on video." But the phone stayed pointed. Not to help, only to capture. I straightened slowly, carefully, as if my spine might splinter from the weight of their silence. My dress, light blue, was streaked with red now. My badge, the one marked guest, hung limp on my chest like a punchline. I didn't say a word. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I walked past Derek. He was studying the pattern on his plate like it might save him. Alyssa glanced at me once, but it was a look of helplessness, not action. I stepped outside into the night. It was quiet. Just wind through the hedges and the faint hum of traffic in the distance. No one followed me. No voice called my name. I opened the Uber app with shaking fingers. The blood had already dried along the line of my jaw. When the car arrived, the driver looked nervous. "You okay, ma'am?" "Hospital," I said. "Just the ER." He nodded and didn't ask again. At the ER, fluorescent lights made everything look colder. The nurse didn't flinch when she saw my head. She had the voice of someone who'd patched up women with worse. "Anyone coming to stay with you?" she asked gently. I shook my head. "Emergency contact?" I stared at the form. Then I left it blank. She nodded, almost approvingly. "You're not the first." I sat still while she cleaned the wound. The bandage was too tight and too kind. The antiseptic burned more than the bruise. "Concussion risk?" I asked. "Low," she said. but ice it tonight. Stay somewhere safe. I nodded. Jade's name was already glowing on my phone when I stepped outside. I hadn't called her. Somehow she just knew. You okay? I'm at the hospital. I'm coming. You're staying with me. Her voice didn't ask. It decided. That night, I didn't touch the tea she made or the blanket she laid out. I just sank into the guest bed, shoes still on, and stared at the ceiling. The next morning came slowly, as if time was unsure it should continue. I rose only because Jade knocked on the door and said, "Eat something." I did. Barely. Then I reached into my bag to get my spare condo key, the one I always kept clipped to the inner pocket, just to feel anchored. It was gone. I dumped the bag onto the bed. Lip balm, receipts, my phone, a half-melted protein bar. But not the key. I froze. A memory bubbled up, last week after dinner in Westlake. Greg had taken my bag from the coat closet, handed it to me with a crooked grin. "Thought it was your mother's," he'd said. I hadn't thought twice. The phone vibrated. "Hi, this is Jeanette from HomeQuest Realty. Just confirming our 2 p.m. walkthrough at your condo today. Will you be meeting us, or should we use the lockbox?" I stared at the screen. I didn't schedule anything. "Oh," she said, papers rustling on her end. "It's listed under your name. A Mr. Gregory Sullivan is co-signer on the listing. He authorized the showing." The blood left my fingertips. "Cancel it," I whispered. There was a pause. "Understood." I hung up and sat on the edge of the bed. They weren't just erasing me emotionally. They were trying to erase me legally, piece by piece, like I was a bad investment to be written off. I opened my laptop. The login screen blinked back at me. Patient. I didn't hesitate. Gmail. Compose. To ethan.mccall@mmlegalgroup.com. Subject, urgent. "Hi, Ethan. I need legal help. Urgently." They tried to sell what wasn't theirs, so I remembered their name was on the deed. The morning light in my condo didn't feel warm. It felt surgical, like it was dissecting my thoughts before I'd even managed coffee. The city beyond the glass was already humming, a new day shaking itself awake. I sat at the kitchen counter in silence, my laptop open, the cursor blinking on Ethan's name. He answered my email within 20 minutes. "Come in today," the message read. "Bring any documents you have? Noon works?" It worked. By 11:45, I was walking into a quiet building off South Congress, where the air smelled like recycled paper and confidence. The receptionist greeted me like I belonged, and Ethan McCall stepped out from a glass-walled office just as I reached for the clipboard. He looked like law school never left him. Clean cut, sharp lines, no pretense. He extended a hand. "Brooke," he said. "Glad you came." I handed him the file folder. It had traveled with me through 3 moves, tucked between expired leases and old tax returns. Inside, a faded warranty deed from 2010, a wire transfer slip for $87,000, and 3 emails from Margot thanking me for saving the family home when no one else could. "I bought the house out of foreclosure," I said, voice even. "We agreed it would stay in my name temporarily." "And it never left," Ethan confirmed, flipping through the pages with precise fingers. "Greg and Margot never refinanced, never repaid, never filed a transfer." He looked up. "That house is legally yours." I didn't nod. I just let the words sink past my skin into something deeper. "And," Ethan continued, "your email mentioned a stolen key?" "Not stolen," I said. "Swapped. A week ago. Greg picked up my bag after dinner. Said he thought it was Margot's. I didn't notice anything missing until yesterday." Ethan tapped a note into his tablet. "They entered your condo without consent, listed it with a realtor, scheduled a walkthrough. That's criminal, Brooke." He said my name like it wasn't breakable. "What now?" I asked. "Now," he said. "We file a notice to vacate the Sullivan property. You're not kicking them out of their home. You're asking unauthorized tenants to leave your legal residence. I stared at the papers he laid out. The language was surgical, non-emotional, clean. Eviction sounds cruel. Ethan looked at me then, really looked. You don't owe them pain, he said. Or peace, just the truth. Outside, the world kept moving. Inside, we signed line after line. The final one was mine. At the bottom of the last page, in neat legal print, occupants must vacate within 72 hours. I stared at it for a long time. The countdown didn't feel vengeful. It felt inevitable. I signed. As Ethan filed the documents, my phone buzzed. An email from Margot. Subject, let's talk, body. Brooke, we love you. This has gone far enough. Please come by the house. No guests, just us. Let's fix this. Signed, Mom. I closed the email. Back home, Jade was already there. She didn't ask questions. She just placed a folded blanket over the back of the couch, set a warm mug of tea by the armrest, and handed me a pair of soft socks from her bag. This is what safety feels like, she said, not looking for approval. I didn't argue. I sat on the couch holding the tea like it might anchor me. For the first time in days, I felt something close to weightlessness. Not joy, not relief, just the absence of dread. The papers were filed. The deed was mine. And the house they tried to weaponize against me? Now, it was the blade I chose to wield. Occupants must vacate within 72 hours. Justice doesn't always come with a gavel. Sometimes it arrives in a manila envelope. The morning light poured through my condo windows, golden and unhurried. The tea in my hand had steeped too long, bitter now, but I liked the taste. It reminded me that I was still here, still choosing. Across from me, the file folder sat like a sealed fate. No drama, no fanfare, just names and dates and the weight of what was finally mine. Ethan had confirmed it. The notice would be served today. I didn't check the time. I didn't pace. The paperwork had already moved through the system. Signed, stamped, scheduled. There was nothing left to push, nothing to stall. It would happen whether I watched it unfold or not. In Alamo Heights, 30 miles away, a sheriff's deputy rang the doorbell of a white-painted colonial with a wraparound porch and hedges trimmed like they had something to prove. Greg answered in a rumpled robe, holding half a piece of toast. His expression flickered between annoyance and confusion. Margot appeared behind him in a silk wrap, coffee in hand. Her mouth froze mid-sip when the officer handed over the envelope. Eviction notice. 72 hours. Greg tore it open. His lips moved as he read, then stilled. His fingers clenched around the paper. Are you serious? He barked at the officer, voice rising. This is some kind of mistake. The officer didn't respond, just nodded once, professional and unmoved. Greg slapped the envelope against the doorframe. Margot's cup hit the floor. Ceramic scattered, a coffee bloom bleeding into the rug. On the porch camera, angled slightly down and to the right, Derek stood behind them, phone in hand. He caught the entire scene. No one told him to stop. Later that day, he uploaded the clip to the extended family group chat. No caption at first, just a silent, jerky video of their downfall. Then, 2 minutes later, a follow-up message. She actually did it. The chat fractured. Some relatives responded with disbelief. Others dropped emojis, shock faces, popcorn. Aunt Libby simply texted, "About damn time." I didn't reply. I didn't read the rest. I turned off notifications, flipped my phone face down, and watched the steam rise from my second cup of tea. The condo was quiet, warm. Jade had gone to the store, but she'd left a fresh orchid by the window. The knock came gently. I opened the door, expecting her. It was the delivery driver with a padded envelope and no return address. I signed without thinking, set the package on the table, and didn't open it. Not yet. Instead, I checked my messages, even though I told myself I wouldn't. There was only one that mattered. From Alyssa. No emojis, no flourishes. They've erased you before. I found the albums. You're not in any of them. The breath left my lungs in stages. Slowly, quietly. Then another ping, a photo attachment. I tapped it open. There I was. Age 7, grinning, front tooth missing, holding a birthday balloon. Or rather, there I should have been. The photo was sliced, clean and deliberate. I was gone, the edge of a sleeve still visible, but my face, my entire presence had been cut from the memory. Just a blank space beside Derek's candlelit cake. No caption, no explanation, just absence. The kind that confirms itself. Attached is a photo, Brooke's childhood picture, cut clean from the frame. They rewrote the story. I published the footnotes. The only light in the condo came from the soft hum of my laptop screen and the tiny lamp beside it, its shade tilted slightly, casting half of the room in shadow. Outside, the city had dimmed into night. In here, the glow off the keyboard felt surgical, like I was dissecting the past, one document at a time. The folder grew slowly. I dragged in PDF after PDF, wire transfers labeled Family Emergency, scanned title documents with my name crystal clear, screenshots of late-night texts from Derek. Can you just float us one more month? And Margot's voice messages asking me to cover the mortgage this once, sweetie. There were emails too, the kind where they didn't think I'd save the receipts. One in particular from Margot, back in 2020. Thank you, darling. We don't deserve your generosity. She was right. I created the Dropbox folder and named it exactly what it was. Truth, for anyone who still wants it. No commentary, no captions, no hashtags. Just silence, organized into folders and labeled in a way no one could spin. I hit share, copied the link, and let it sit. 3 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Alyssa. She had forwarded a voicemail. It was short. Margot's voice hushed but calculated. We'll call her up last minute, catch her off guard. If she explodes, it proves our point. If she stays quiet, she knows she's outnumbered. The timestamp matched the afternoon before Derek's birthday party. I didn't cry, not even rage. Just another tile in the mosaic of betrayal. Then it happened. Margot uploaded a video. A choppy, overproduced clip, my face tight and tense at the mic. She'd spliced it with images of Derek smiling beneath balloons, Alyssa clapping in slow motion, Greg laughing in another room. My voice cracked, distorted by editing. This wasn't agreed on. The caption. We raised her with love. We never expected betrayal. Hashtags bloomed underneath like mold. Ungrateful, chatur, family matters. Broken heart. I didn't reply. I didn't share the voicemail. I posted the Dropbox link. Quietly. To one social account. Pinned to the top. No bio. No introduction. Just one line. If you're still listening. Within hours, the shares began. A mid-tier influencer reposted with the words, "You can tell a lie with 1,000 photos. But this folder? This is evidence." The comments changed. Wait, they tried to erase her? She funded his startup. Are you kidding? How do you delete someone from their own childhood? Uncle Ray texted 2 words. About time. I closed the laptop without watching the views roll in. The truth didn't need surveillance. It just needed sunlight. The condo stayed quiet except for the buzz of my phone against the counter. I almost ignored it. A new text. This time from the real estate agent handling the property. The Sullivan home has sold. Final paperwork cleared. They have 48 hours to vacate. They left behind a house. I found a napkin. The air inside the old Sullivan house was still. Not haunted, just vacant. The kind of quiet that comes when every performance has ended and the stage crew's gone home. Sunlight spilled across bare floors, no rugs to catch it. The walls that once held family portraits now wore faint outlines like ghosts of frames past. I walked room by room, not because I needed to, but because I wanted to remember. Not them, just me. The kitchen still smelled faintly of lemon oil and burnt toast. The corner cabinet with the loose hinge hadn't been fixed, despite years of promises. The hallway light flickered when I passed beneath it, just like it always had. I stopped at the small door under the stairs. It stuck like it used to. I had to nudge it with my shoulder. Inside, a single shoebox. Dusty. Unlabeled. I brought it to the island and lifted the lid. On top was a photo. Faded. Cropped awkwardly. 8-year-old me, missing a front tooth, beaming with a too large science trophy cradled in my arms. The background was a school gym, the stage curtain wrinkled. No one else in frame. Just me. Beneath the photo, the napkin, the swan. Not a replica. The same linen, the same slightly uneven folds. The one from Derek's birthday. The one I'd straightened with trembling fingers before realizing the entire evening was a setup. It had been folded back into itself, smoothed, preserved. I stared at it for a long time. My throat tightened, but the tears didn't come. I didn't need them. I smiled. Just a little. Somewhere someone had kept this. Whether by accident or guilt, it didn't matter. It had survived. So had I. I closed the box gently, held it to my chest for a breath, then turned and walked out the front door without looking back. The real estate agent was waiting by the gate, clipboard in hand. She nodded as I passed. "This stays with me," I said. She didn't ask what was in the box. Some people just know. Back at the condo, the air was filled with lavender and open windows. Light poured through the glass without hesitation. On the counter, a small orchid in a terracotta pot, its stem tied to a bamboo stick like it had weathered its own storm. Jade arrived 10 minutes later, balancing a bottle of red in one hand and a shopping bag in the other. "You need more green in here," she said, placing a leafy plant on the windowsill like she owned the place. I didn't argue. We cooked something simple. Pasta with garlic and thyme. The kind of meal that doesn't need to prove anything. I set 2 plates. 2 glasses. Not out of habit. Out of intention. Before we ate, I placed the swan napkin at the center of the table. The same one. Its folds soft now, not crisp, but still a swan. Still here. Later, I sorted through the mail and found a cream-colored envelope. Alyssa's handwriting on the front. Inside, a baby shower invitation. Clean lines, pale pink scroll. At the bottom, scrawled in the corner. "I'm sorry. You deserved better. Alyssa." I stared at it, not with anger, just thoughtfulness. I didn't go to the shower. Instead, I wrote a check to a local women's shelter. In the memo, I wrote, "In honor of a new beginning." I sealed it in an envelope and mailed it before dinner. The sun dipped lower, casting golden slants across the tile. Jade refilled our glasses and raised hers. "To building our own tables," I said. She clinked her glass against mine, the sound soft and certain. "And never begging for a seat again." The house was empty, not just of furniture or framed photos, but of the echoes that once dictated who belonged and who didn't. For years, Brooke had walked on eggshells across those polished floors, folded herself into silence to avoid shattering the illusion of a perfect family. But illusions, like porcelain, crack under pressure. And this time, the break was final. She didn't need revenge. What she needed was a return of something far rarer. Her place in the story. Not a guest at the table, not a forgotten figure in the corner of a photograph, but a presence. Irrefutable and complete. That presence wasn't earned through screaming matches or public spectacles. It came through quiet choices. A filed deed, an opened Dropbox folder, a napkin folded not for show but for memory. They tried to sell her home. They tried to sell her silence. But she made them pay with the only currency they couldn't counterfeit. Truth. Because sometimes the most powerful act of defiance is documentation. A wire transfer with her name on it. A voicemail recorded in a moment of manipulation. A napkin left behind not in kindness, but in oversight. Now reclaimed as a monument to what they tried to erase. The lesson was never about punishment. It was about presence. That even if people rewrite your name out of the past, they can't unlive the reality you stood in. And perhaps that's the quiet miracle of justice. Not when the guilty fall, but when the forgotten rise. When injustice meets quiet resolve, the verdict may not echo in courtrooms, but it will reverberate in every heart still waiting for their turn to speak. Brooke didn't walk away to forget them. She walked away to remember herself. In doing so, she built something stronger than forgiveness: freedom. The kind built not from applause, but from boundaries. Not from vengeance, but from clarity. Because sometimes what you reclaim isn't just property or reputation. It's the right to exist without explanation. And that, perhaps, is the softest and strongest kind of justice there is.